everyone. We've been looking at your comments on Facebook, and we've noticed one of the really common themes is talking about men's hairlines, and especially challenging hairlines. So we brought in my good buddy Dan here because he has one of the most challenging hairlines on earth. So let's spin him around and reveal the mess. Just kidding. So what happens back here is his hairline grows in many, many different directions. I mean, you can see we've got this that grows in here, this that kind of curves around there. You've got these corners that kind of shift to the side. So it creates a lot of chaos back there. And the challenge with this is, what do? Do you bring it up higher to try and get rid of it? Do you cut it shorter? Do you leave it longer? And honestly, in different situations, all of those answers might be the right one. On Dan's, the best thing to do is to kind of softly start to remove the hair up closer and closer until you get to a point that it looks managed. And I think that's the real key to these types of hairlines, is that you don't expect it to turn into a perfect hairline. To give Dan a perfect hairline, we'd have to shave it up to here. And that's not a good look at all. A natural kind of worked in hairline is a much, much better image. So to do this, we're going to start first with our Samvia Signature Series razor with the straight blade in there. And I'm going to come in and just take off the neck hair, just right up to where all the chaos begins. And the reason I'm using the razor is that way I can get really close on the neck, but then I'm also making sure that I take away a soft edge rather than leaving a hard edge there. I could also do this with a trimmer by taking the trimmer and tipping it so that the T-edge is kind of chipping into the edge, and that would work as well. But I like to use the razor. As long as your razor is nice and clean and it hasn't been used before, you know, I changed this razor right before we started the video. As long as it's nice and clean and fresh, you're not going to rough up your guest's neckline, because the guard that's on here has a nice slippery texture to it, so it slides across the skin very, very well. If you want to, you could absolutely go ahead and put a little bit of a conditioner or something like that on the skin to increase the slip, but it's not actually necessary. Does that hurt, Dan? Mm-mm. All right, see, you heard him. No. And Dan's actually not that tough. So if it doesn't hurt him, everyone else is going to be okay. I can joke with him because he's one of my best friends. So at this point, you know, we've cleaned up those edges with a very soft texture. And even that looks okay. But what we can do to actually improve this is we can start to kind of chip into it with a blending shear. So I'm going to use our InvisiBlend shear. And the reason I'm going to use this is it's our softest shear. It will leave no lines because of the special design where this side of the blade is actually smooth. This side doesn't cut. It's just this edge. I'm going to take the InvisiBlend and I'm going to just start to chip into his hairline and soften that little widow's peak that's back here in the back. And by using that InvisiBlend to remove the hair, I'm not leaving any hard lines at all. So that starts to soften that up. Around here on the edges, again, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to lightly remove a little bit of the density in the areas that look heavy. Because a lot of making these hairlines look good is looking at the light and shadows within them. If you get too obsessed with if this hair is exactly the same length as right next to it, you're going to create actually more separation, because if I cut this as short as this will actually look thinner. So this piece of hair right here is a little bit longer because it needs to fill in a bit. And then to address those extra shadows, you just come in and softly remove a little bit of weight. So that's starting to look a lot better. It's actually one of the better jobs I've done on your hairline, Dan. All right, so I have this little bit of extra hair right here. I'm just gonna, again, come in with my straight blade on my Samvia Signature Series razor and just really gently remove that excess hair at the bottom edge. So voila, That's not a perfect squared off, clean edge to the hairline, but it has a very natural flow to it. It has a very natural movement to it. And so this, to me, is a lot better than going in with a clipper and putting hard edges and hard lines into it. So hopefully you guys have some challenges with hairlines like this, and this information will help you out to make sure that the next time you approach them with a little lighter hand and a more eye for a natural finish. If you have any comments, questions, anything else, put them in that little comment box right below the video screen, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. I'm Andrew Carruthers, Education Director for Sam Villa.